This video is for the subject Fundamentals of Management and Life Skills Part 1, which is prescribed for first semester BCom students of Bangalore University. And this is session 32. This relates to Unit 4 Communication Skills. And in this particular video, we are talking about the types of communication, the various types of communication. The basic objective is to understand the various types of communication on different bases. So at the end of this session, the students will be able to understand what are the different types of communication on various bases. So what are the types of communication? Now there are different types of communication on different bases. So we'll see on the basis of organization structure, what are the different kinds of communication. On the basis of organization structure, communication can be broadly classified into formal communication and informal communication. Now, you would have seen an organization structure which shows the authority and responsibility relationship between the various people working in the organization. So, if an communication flows through the formal organization structure, where there is a top level management and followed by middle level management, followed by lower level management, and then the workers, then such a communication is called as formal communication. So this is something which is associated with a formal organization structure, where there are formal or officially recognized channels which says the information has to flow in this particular way. The top management has to send the information to middle level management. The middle level management then has to convey it to lower level management, which will in turn convey it to the workers. Similarly, if there is a response or any suggestion or any kind of information which has to be sent from the employees, then it has to go through the channel upward. So employees have to give that information to low level management. Lower level management has to pass it on to middle level management, and middle level management should be the one which should convey it to the top level management. So this particular rigid structure, where there is a very official lines of communication that happens, that is called as a formal communication channel. Generally, orders, instructions and decisions of superior management are the ones which are communicated through this particular channel. Now, any communication which does not follow the formal communication is known as informal communication. Now, I told you formal communication has to follow the formal channels where there are prescribed ways of communicating and prescribed pattern of communication. Now, informal communication does not follow any kind of rules, any kind of organization structure. It is just information which flows from one person to another person in the organization, irrespective of the cadre they belong to. It's irrespective of their position in the organization. So a top level manager could directly speak to a worker in the organization, or a worker in the organization could directly send the information to the top level management or a middle level management. So there could be crisscross moving of information and so on. So informal communication is also known as grapevine communication. So informal communication is something where the formal channels of communication are not used, and generally this is considered as the most effective ways of communication because it's very quick. Things which take a very long time to reach the person through formal channels, here under grapevine it is very quick. It reaches the other person very fast. Now, that is on the basis of organization structure. Now, the second means of classifying communication is on the basis of direction of communication. Now, in the way the communication flows, we'll see what are the different classification of communication. Communication could be downward, it could be upward, it could be horizontal and diagonal. So what is this? Now, all those who have seen an organization structure, if the information flows from superior to subordinates, from the top level management to the low level management and employees, such an flow of information where information or the communication is flowing from the top level to the next level, or that next level to a lower level, that is called as a downward communication. And communication sent through these channels are generally directions given to the lower levels, wherein the lower levels are expected to act according to the directions given. These communications generally include orders, policies, directions, instructions, and so on. So it is very, very formal things in which the subordinates are supposed to just follow the communication which is sent by the superiors. Now, there could also be upward communication where there is information flowing from the subordinates to the superiors. It's the other way around to downward communication. This may include reports, suggestions, reactions to workers, proposals, and so on. No, upward communication is considered very vital for the management, because only through upward communication the management will be able to evaluate the effectiveness with which its orders have been carried out. So, unless you get a report from your subordinate, the superior will not understand whether the instructions given by him has been followed, whether the order given by him has been followed, or the work that is prescribed by him has been done or not. And equally important is also the fact that in order to understand the grievance of the subordinate and take the suggestions of the subordinate, this becomes very vital. So, unless you allow the employees or the subordinates to express their feelings and grievance and their suggestions, they will not feel a part of the organization. And unless they feel that they are part of the organization, they will not be able to contribute for the best of the organization. Now, communication can also be horizontal or lateral. Horizontal communication is communication that happens between people of the same level in the organization. So, communication that happens between people of the same cadre, same category. So, if a worker is talking to another worker, that is horizontal communication. Or say one of the operational managers, like your production manager is speaking to finance manager or a HR manager, that is horizontal communication. So there's no superior subordinate relationship here. Everybody is at the same level, and there is information flowing from one person to another. And generally, it will just be information that is passed on to one person and the other person. There'll be nothing official which could be really passed on from one to another. Then there could also be diagonal communication. Diagonal communication is something that happens between two people who are not even at the same department nor the same level of organizational hierarchy. This cuts across all kinds of department lines. So you could have a marketing manager speaking to a foreman in the factory. So such kind of communication is called as diagonal communication, and it's mostly personal in nature. Now, one more basis of classification of communication is expression. In the way you express the communication, your communication could be divided between oral communication or written communication, which is clubbed as verbal communication and non-verbal communication. So, verbal communication includes oral communication as well as written communication. Oral communication is something which is made direct face to face through a telephone or through a telecom system. So, where there are spoken words which is involved, that sort of a communication is called as oral communication. So, oral communication is a communication which involves spoken words. This could be in the form of sounds, words, language, speech, everything is included under oral communication. Whereas written communication is the medium through which the message is passed on with the help of written words, with the help of words which are written. This could be statements, circulars, letters, reports, memos, manuals. Mostly, all your formal communication happens through written communication. And both these oral and written communication are considered as verbal communications. Then the other classification is non-verbal communication. Non-verbal communication is a type of communication which manages to convey the sender's message without using words. So if you're able to convey a message without using words, then that is called as non-verbal communication. Now, how could you do that? That is done through body language, through gestures, through touch, through facial expressions, and so on. Like, say, for example, when your teacher asks you, did you understand a lesson? You could use different means to say yes. You could actually say yes in the form of spoken words, or you could write an S in a paper and show it to her. That could be your written communication, or you could just nod your head or give a smile. Okay, that will also mean that you have understood the lesson, and that is a form of non-verbal communication. Okay, now these are the different kinds of classification of communication on different bases.